as we talked last time, this is episode one of the season Rise Up Africa. So, to begin with, I would like to address the issue of employment versus business. I am this one guy who is against this idea that people shouldn't be employed. Yeah, that's bullshit, I'm telling you. Yeah, it's excuse my language, but that's employment is important because in employment, that's where you're gonna get some good training on how to manage different things. Even when later you start your own business, you're really gonna depend on that knowledge. Yeah, so I'm not against employment. Only that I'll still make you aware that through employment you can never ever be rich. And there is a saying in Africa that if you get rich through employment, then probably you're a thief. Yeah, how else are you gonna explain it? Okay, so these are the three things I would like to talk about a job. Number one is employment alone cannot really make you wealth. I have so many points about that, but I'll talk about just two. Number one, in employment, you have a salary, and this salary is specifically designed or measured to fit your needs within a specified period of month. I can tell you for sure, if you have a salary of 800,000 Tanzanian shillings, for those who are in Tanzania, your expenses are gonna be 800,000 or more than that. That's salary for you, Yeah. You could be like, what about those people that have big salaries? They could have a salary of 5 millions. Yeah, I can still affirm to you, if you have a salary of 5 millions, you won't be living in a house of 50,000. Okay, you won't be going to the hotels of 3,000 per meal. That's life for you. So salaries are there, but they won't ever make you rich. So what we do then with salaries, what you gotta do is you gotta save. Yeah, you get the salary, get a certain percentage, maybe 10%, according to most financial books. Save it somewhere. Save it for 1 year, save it for 2 years, save it for 3 years. And in the process of the saving, try to learn a skill that you can invest that saved up money and make a living and start a business and trying to save. You understand? Now, what is the difference between income and assets? When you are employed, you have income. They're gonna pay you money. Maybe, as I said, 800,000, 1 million, 2 millions. Yeah, that's income. But when you run your own businesses, you move from the side or the idea of getting an income to the idea of owning assets. And that's where the change comes in. Assets, these are things that put money in your pocket. So, a business is an asset itself, but you can talk about buying land, you can talk about starting multiple businesses, you can talk about investing in real estate, you can talk about investing in stocks, in bonds. Yeah, that's assets for you, and you can only achieve this if you have an enormous source of money, and that only happens in business. But also business is creates financial freedom. I don't know whether you understand me, but most people have heard about this term financial freedom. What is that for you? I'll explain it in the simplest manner possible. So financial freedom is having not to think about, can I afford this? Can I do this in this time? Can I travel to this country in this time? Well, it's not necessarily about having the money, but it's also necessarily about owning your time. Guys, I can tell you for sure, I've been employed for more than 8 years. I've been in business, but there's nothing more important in your life like owning your time. Because if you own your time, then you know how to use it. You could decide to spend it with the family. You can decide to spend it with traveling, exploring the world. You can decide to spend it learning a skill. But when you're employed, technically your employer is buying your goddamn time. You get it? So, and that's it. That means you are earning money based on time. And that also limits how much you can make. So basically, even if you've never thought about starting a business, you gotta start one. You gotta plan one. Yeah, it's very, very paramount. One reason that made me shift from being employed to starting a business was one, I was working hard, waking up early, working 7 days a week. There is a year I went to work 365 days. You can't imagine. But then one day I learned something in a book which I don't remember its title, and it says you can work so hard at a job, okay, but the moment you get sick, the moment you get an emergency, the moment you die, you are replaced immediately. You understand? But also, let's say when you die, your job is not something your kids can inherit. Why? Because it's not yours anyway. Yeah, you are just there to push things. You're just there to make money for your boss. You understand? But for the business, however small it could be, you die in one of your people. Could be your wife, could be your kids, could be your brother, could be anybody related to you if you don't have so closest people. Yeah, I understand. We'll inherit that and we'll take it over, and that keeps a legacy. Yeah, we have seen different businesses here that were started by different people, and their legacies are being kept on. They're going. For example, in Dar es Salaam here, I was in a certain hospital. It's around Magomende. It's called Ekenya Hospital. So when you go in there, you find the founder's picture on the wall because he started the hospital. I don't know for how long he's been dead. Sorry to talk about that, but yeah, you can see there is something going on. See that he is dead, but he is not dead technically, because every time you come to use the service of the hospital, you remember him. But also, if he had any kids, which I don't know, uh, the kids are owning the hospital. They are gaining money from there. Even the kids, if they're smart enough to keep the business, will leave the business to their kids. So you see how important starting a business is compared to employment. For your information, as I said, I'm not against employment because technically that's where most people begin, and it's very paramount. Personally, I've been there. We learn skills there. You learn hard work. You learn teamwork. A lot of things there. But then you gotta know when to leave. It's very, very crucial. Yeah. So that's it for you. You gotta start a goddamn business. I'm gonna leave an assignment for you today. Sit down and think, what business can you do? And I'll give you just two insights. Number one, think about a business technically should be a problem solving business if you want to survive in the market. Think about what problem do people have and what can I do to solve it. Technically, you have a business idea. If you have a problem and you have a way to solve it, all you need is to find out how to solve it, and you're done. So, as I said, remember, knowledge is everywhere, but execution is rare. Be the one that executes. I am Coca Jave. See you in the next one.